Before we continue with the video, if you like what I'm doing here on this channel, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel a lot. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Procedural games are becoming more and more common. A procedural approach to game content can be an inexpensive way to produce content that allows for a lot of replayability. You can use procedural randomness to generate different levels or to have loot and rewards be varied through it. When it comes to procedurally generating content, you can go the extra step and have your procedural generation be based on deterministic randomness. That is of course just a fancy way of saying that you can reproduce a series of random events. How this works is that the randomness is initialized with a seed value. This seed value is usually just an integer that is used by the random number generator to produce a series of numbers, but the seed value can also be a string of alphanumeric characters in other cases. When using the series of numbers produced, we can have those drive random generation of content, like determining what rooms will appear in which order in a maze, or determine which options for loop will appear. We can even have it drive random rolls, like the percentage chance of hitting a target, for example. There are a few additional benefits to having deterministic probability. That is that we can allow for possibly a player having an input where they can set a specific seed based on something they have gotten from someone else or they have played themselves. One such case is if you play a game and you find that a specific playing session was particularly challenging, you may want to share it with a friend and see if they could overcome the challenge as well as you could. Or it could be that a specific run had fantastic rewards and you want your friends or others to enjoy the same experience. Or it could be used as the basis for speedruns, so that all the players that are trying to do the speedrun get the same circumstances and everything is fair despite being a randomized game. In Unreal Engine, we can create deterministic randomness using the random stream structure. These structures are initialized at the start, like I mentioned earlier, with a seed value. A seed is the value that you can manually assign, or you can leave it as default, which will then be the seed value of 0. Our seed value will then determine the sequence of values that we can retrieve from the stream. So different seeds will result in different values in the sequence. And each time we have the need for a random value, we request a value from the stream and it will provide us the next available value. And the next time after that we want the value requested, a new value is returned, and so on. You can get a variety of random values from the stream. It is available for bools, integers, floats, rotators, vectors, and I believe there's even some special cases as well. This allows us to have reproducible randomness. By having a seed value determined, our random value sequence and the sequence that drive our logic is executed from the code from that sequence. So we can get consistent results, but they are all still random within themselves. Now to demonstrate this in Unreal Engine 5, and this is Unreal Engine 5.02, I have this character which I can take control of, and I have these 3 characters in front of me which all have text in front of or above their head. And this text will be generating a random value that they will be assigned upon starting to play. So if we start playing, you can see that they get the numbers 61, 95 and 96 with some decimals of course as well. And if we were to exit the game and start playing again, you can see that they are given the same values. And this is what we mean with deterministic randomness. So we have separate game sessions being played, but because we are making use of a random stream in Unreal Engine, we can get consistent values and then make use of those in our randomness so that the randomness is consistent between different sessions. So this will repeat. Every time I start playing, I will get the same values for these characters. And As well, if we take our character and we move it a little bit to the left here, we can see that I also have this bounding box, which if I press play, you can see we get some 3 different circles, or yeah, they're different, but they're all green, spawned inside of this bounding box. And they are also making use of this randomness. So each time I stop playing here and start playing again, they will always be getting the same positions each time I play. And lastly, we have an example of some chests here. So I have some chests I can go up and interact with, and I get some loot. I get a shield, and I get a chalice. And this as well is all random, but deterministically so. So if we were to play again and I were to open it from the left, for example, you can see that we get a shield there, a shield in the middle, and a chalice on the right instead. So it's the order, because we're getting the sequences or the values from the sequence in order, so that is how it's going to be interpreted. Since all of these boxes are using, or treasure chests are using exactly the same code, it is a matter of the order I open them that's important rather than which of them I open. So let's take a look at the code for this. So starting off, we had our characters over here, which would be, let's increase the camera speed, which are given a number above their head when we start playing. So how does this work? Well, what I've done here in this case, I have created something that I call a random manager. This random manager over here is an actor in the world, and we have functions on it that different other objects call the random manager, saying I need this random value. So the random manager has a few functions I created here. I have a float and a vector and a bounding box that I return inside of this manager. The reason I have it in the manager is because if we have it in the manager, that allows us to have the sequence from start to end, and it will not be duplicating anything. Because if we created a random manager inside of, or not a random manager, if we created an F stream in here and had the seed 0 and an F stream in here and had the same seed, we end up with a situation where we can get identical values. To demonstrate this, now I went into the third person character here and I changed our logic from using our manager in the world to instead have a random stream. So it's the type is a random stream and it's a structure. So each of these characters will now have their own local variable, which is called random stream test, and they'll set the seed to 0, so they're all consistent among each other. Then we'll ask for a random float, and then I have some logic which is essentially just taking some values and doing some setting of the text render above their heads. Now that I've done this and it's all in each individual character, you can see that they all get the same value, because they are initializing the seed 0 into a stream, and then they're all going to take the first value of that stream and then make use of it to populate the character's text, which means that they get consistent. So that is the reason why I have a manager here making it go through a sort of unified point, which means that they all have to get from the same sequence, and once a number is taken, the sequence moves on to the next one, and everything is kept apart like that. There are situations where you might want to have possibly multiple managers. Maybe you want to have your randomness in one case determined by some kind of global manager, and maybe in other cases you maybe want to have a different one for loot, and another one for how the maze is generated, and another one for the monsters that you meet, or something like that. So maybe you want to have them separated, so even if for example the maze for some reason can be controlled by the player in some manner, so it might be pulling multiple numbers from the sequence, so that it could possibly affect the same sequence when it comes to the loot. That is one of the reasons you may want to have it separated. It is not a necessity, I would claim, because it is random by its nature, but it's like if you want to have some more control over it. So maybe you have a specific seed might produce an interesting result for when it comes to your monsters that you spawn or the loot that you present or something like that. Situations like that, it could be useful to be aware of it at least. Anyway, let's get back to the code. So if we stop this and we go into our random manager again, you can see that everything that's happening here is essentially on begin play we are creating our random struct with a seed, and therefore we have initialized it in some way. So if we were to go, and I have exposed this as well so we can see that the seed is over here. So if I change this to 1, we will get a different result when it comes to both the numbers of the characters, the positions of the different circles, as well as the loot in the chests. Now we got 2 daggers and a shield instead of 2 shields and a chalice. So it's very easy to set up, and then once you have that, you just call on this struct to get information. And I've created some functions here to have some easy exposure from the outside. But essentially, if we go into one of these, you can say we get a random generator struct reference, we get a random float from stream, and in this case I'm just setting it and returning it. Don't focus too much on the logic of the code, that's not important. This is just for demonstration purposes. But typing in random into this struct, you can see what options you have available to yourself when it comes to the struct essentially. So you have a bunch of different ones. And you can also get then a value that's more appropriate to what you're needing. So when it came to my loot, for example, I just created a very hacky little, I got a float value and then I multiplied it. I could have created an integer function, but I didn't. So I have a float and I multiply it and I truncate it and I gave a modulus to give it a random number in between 0 and 2. And then I just spawn a mesh depending on the randomness that's there. When it came to the volumes that we have in the 3D space, meaning these circles in here, it's a very similar situation. I just have some logic on begin play to draw a sphere 3 different times in a for loop. Inside of there we just get the manager reference, and then we say call on a function to say we want to have a random vector in a bounding box, and then just send in the bounding box for the box that is the volume that we want to spawn in. And then I draw some debug spheres in those positions that we get as a result back. So it's very simple to make use of. It's a very powerful tool, and it allows you to create both memorable, because you allow your player to have a very awesome seed of randomness in your game, and then he or she feels like they want to play it again, they can just save that seed for a different time and play it again. Or like I said earlier, share it with his or her friends so they can experience the same thing as they did. Yeah, that is my take on deterministic randomness and its values. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you did not like it, leave a dislike. Leave any suggestions or comments you have down below. Subscribe and share this video if you want to see more like it in the future. That is all for now. Keep on learning. Take care.